Why so many young adults are still living with their parents in the US? It's not just the US, by the way, unfortunately. I think this is a problem everywhere, I'm just saying.
About 1 in 3 Americans between 18 and 34 years old live with their parents. And while you may have heard more about this recently, this trend isn't new.
Between 2005 and 2015, the share just grew very steeply over this 10
My brother lived between 2005 up until like 2012 or 2013 with my parents, and he was around about that age bracket. He literally couldn't afford it because liberal arts degrees don't pay. That's not what it is, but okay, brother. Yeah. Asians asking what's the problem? It's a cultural thing for sure. I think that with Asian families, I have Asian friends, a lot of them marry and then live with their parents until they basically pass away. Yeah, it's very common. With Americans in general, it used to not be common. They just like move out at 18 and now it's not really an option.
year period. Since then, it's been fairly stable. There was an uptick, of course, during the pandemic. In the wake of the pandemic, those rates of parental co-residence are now about where they were right before. Part of the reason we see this escalation of young adults not leaving the nest or returning to the nest is this idea that it was harder and harder for them to weather shocks.
Oh, absolutely. You have absolutely no savings. You have no savings when you're growing up, initially, now, even, to, like, take care of yourself. If something happens to you, or, I don't know, maybe your pet gets sick while you're, you know, working, your pet, or you break your leg or something, you just can't recover.
Nearly 30% of Gen Z said they would like to save, but don't make enough money. And roughly 2 in 5 millennials and Gen Z adults feel it's harder to build financial wealth now than when their parents were their age because of the economy. 27-year-old Victoria Franklin has been living with her mother in New Jersey since she graduated college in 2019.
I moved out of my parents' house because I couldn't stand living with them anymore. No offense, but there's just a certain point where, I don't know, for my mental sanity, I kind of just took the L and was like, all right, holy shit, her parents are fucking loaded. I'd fucking live with my parents too if they were this loaded. Holy fuck. Look at these, wow!
All of the money that I was saving, and I thought, maybe I should stay home for a little bit, and I didn't feel an urgency to move out.
Not everyone is enthusiastic about this trend.
You guys are making 6 figures together. You can't tell me you can't afford a house.
And this is the fucking problem. My brother got so much shit, by the way. For a long time, he was like, okay, I'm gonna maybe buy a house. He like turned 30. And my mom and dad were like, oh yeah, just buy yourself a house, just like we did like 30 years ago. And he's like, I literally can't. What do you mean? They're like, oh, it's because you're spending so much money. He literally sat down with them and ran the figures, and then they were like, oh, never mind. Okay, I think I understand it a little bit.
They just don't want to spend their money.
Told ya. 36%.
Told you. Yeah, I feel it, man. I feel it.
Of Americans said in a 2022 survey that more young adults living with their parents is bad for society. So here.
That's a tough one because, like, in a lot of cultures, it's okay to live with your parents. I think it's dependent on your family unit. I don't think it's bad for society. It can be bad for development, maybe? I could argue, perhaps. I don't know. It's not that bad. I think the economy fucking people up is way worse than society.
Why young Americans are choosing to live with their parents and what the implications are for the U.S. economy.
My name is Victoria Franklin. I am 27 years old, and I live in my childhood home with my mother and my boyfriend.
Victoria graduated from the University of Miami in 2019 and moved in with her mom when she was looking for a job.
After I saw the cost of living and things like that after I graduated, that maybe I'd be home for about a year.
Okay, but what did you study? To be fair, what did you study?
More than half of Gen Z adults say they don't make enough money to live the life they want due to high cost of living.
I ended up bartending and waitressing until October, where I got my first offer, so it did take a little bit longer than I expected. Currently live at the Jersey Shore, and I was commuting into
buying a house in Jersey Shore. American boomers are able to move out with a high salary at an early age. Just so we're clear, by the way, this is not exclusive to American boomers. Yo, any European frogs, do your parents give you shit and say like, oh, just go buy a house? Do they do that to you too? I 100% don't think it's just an American boomer thing. I think all the boomers across a lot of countries do this. My parents are Russian, like Eastern European, and they have the same thing. It's the opposite of my parent. Well, your parents must be nice, because my parents give me a lot of shit.
New York City, which takes about 2 hours each way. And I thought, in 6 months or so, I'll move into the city, be closer to the job. And the pandemic threw a wrench in those plans.
Victoria now works a fully remote job, which she says she probably wouldn't have if it weren't for the pandemic. Without a commute to worry about, she was able to stay at her mom's for longer.
It's a lot harder for young people today to save up for, markers of the American dream than it was for previous generations. Part of the reason we see this escalation of young adults not leaving the nest or returning to the nest is this.
Even back in 2018, when I lived by myself and I just worked a job, it was not easy to save money, and I basically didn't spend any money. I just ate, I ate microwaved baked potatoes, noodles, rice, chicken, and bacon bits, and, what is it called? Black-eyed peas. That's all I would eat. And I only saved around about $200 to $400 a month. Luckily, nothing ever really bad happened to me, but fuck me. It's not fun, man.
Idea that it was harder and harder for them to weather shocks. And so, for example,
now it's really
bad. They suffered some sort of health shock, or they got in a car accident. If they didn't have any additional credit to weather that shock, they would end up moving back home. The financial stability of young adults, their ability to pay for things if they got into an emergency, was one of the big factors influencing whether or not they were living on their own or living with their parents.
That's what happened to my brother. He finished school and tried to get into the military, and then he just couldn't take it and basically said, hey, Ma, I'd really like it if I could just stay for a year. Yeah, this happened not in 2019 or wherever this chick was talking about. This happened back in 2012? 2008?
A significant number of Gen Z adults and millennials lack emergency savings. In fact, 46% of millennials and 32% of Gen Z have more credit card debt than emergency savings. This can have ramifications for setting up a financial future.
Now it's even worse. Yep. Because renting is worse. You're basically... this is what I fucking hate. When people are like, oh, just rent. And I'm like... But I could put a down payment on a fucking house. It's such a scam. Yeah, you're burning money, and I hate it. It's so bad.
Roughly 1 in 4 Gen Z adults say housing costs are one of the biggest challenges to financial success.
The prices of homes has escalated over the last few decades much faster than actual incomes. So it is actually much harder for a millennial or a Gen Z to save up for a down payment to buy.
Chat, I'm not going to name geographic locations, and these are all fake prices, but this is the equivalent. My parents bought a house for... I'm going to make up a random number, $50K in 2007. Now that house is worth what would be the proportional? It's worth $800,000 or some shit. It's $500K or $600K. It's insane. Guys, it's a made up number! God damn it, I have to clarify. It's not. It's a made up number. That's the proportion of fucking inflation and property values going up. It's literally almost 10 times the price of what it was when they bought it. Your parents are part of the problem? What do you mean they're part of the problem? They didn't do anything. They're not gonna sell it. No, they live in it. They've lived in it, but they constantly get harassed to sell their shit. It's a joke. Oh, thank God. I was about to get mad. I was like, what do you mean? I was part of the problem. They didn't do anything wrong. They bought a house. They stayed in it. They don't want to sell it, but they constantly get harassed by realtors and shit. Saying like, oh, do you want to sell your property? Do you want to sell your property? It's worth a lot of money. They're like, no, leave us alone. Holy fuck. It's disgusting.
A home. And that's something that bears out in the data.
The pandemic did have a lot to do with it. I saw how much I was saving and I was like,
oh my God.
Maybe I shouldn't be paying, upwards of $3,000 a month and making somebody else richer when I could stay at home, save that money. And
the biggest problem is that you're burning a hole in your pocket, renting for, say, I don't know, like $3,000 a month in like the city when you could be saving money to get a down payment on a house. It's so gross. And you can't really do anything about it because usually you're tied up with like a job that forces you to live there. So like, what are you gonna do? Move out and then not have a job? Yeah, what's so difficult? Start working 10 times more. Easy. Yeah, just start ripping your butt open. Start showing your butt on fucking OnlyFans. There you go.
Spend it on where I want to spend it. Between my job and my bartending and waitressing, I make anywhere from $85,000 to $95,000 a year. I would say about 40 to 50%.
That's actually decent. What?
Of my salary is going right into savings. My mentality is, why rent and give my money to someone else when I can start to own? And so a big chunk of that money is going to go towards a down payment on a house.
But then what happens to the people that can't do that? What happens to the people that don't have parents that live in the same country or like state? Yeah, that's the problem. Like, not everyone can do what she's doing. I mean, again, good for her. She has like a rich family, but it sucks that like a lot of people can't even do that, or their parents can't afford it. Their parents can't afford to do it. Maybe their parents are retired. Or they're dead. Yeah. Yeah, get fucked, I guess. You're just fricked.
Young adults ages 25 to 34 in high cost of living areas are more likely to live with their parents. Nearly
Oh, yeah. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why this big chunk is like, all right, yeah, I can afford to not. Yeah, they probably have pretty decent housing prices, or at least like not, horrible like everywhere else. What are the highest ones? California, fucking butthole ass, fucking stupid ass, Louisiana, fucking Florida, fucking New York. Yeah, a lot of East Coast, huh? Alabama. Yeah, that's Alabama right there. That's another state. I'm blanking. I don't know why. I'm blanking. I don't remember. What's next to Texas? Arizona? Alabama? My state? I don't know your state. Bro, shut up! New Mexico! Wait, is this Arizona? Wait, I'm cooked. Jack, can you tell I didn't have an NA education? Shut up! I didn't. Okay, never mind. Anyway, we're getting off the deep end.
26% of young adults in New Jersey were living with at least one of their parents in 2022. The median household income in Oceanport, New Jersey, where the Franklins live, was nearly $133,000 in 2022.
What?
While the median value of a home in the region was around $644,000.
Holy shit. Yeah, don't live in New Jersey. Holy fuck.
My dad built this house for $350,000 and was making probably $10,000 to $15,000 less than I was. My mom wasn't working at the time, and they were able to afford a $350,000 house on a $70,000.
Man, the words that are coming out of her mouth do not make any sense to me. Hold on.
$1,000 less than I was. My mom wasn't working at the time, and they were.
Her mom wasn't working. They made $70K and they afforded a $350,000 house. Yeah, that must have been nice, man. No wonder her mom's such a fucking boomer. She's like, oh, just afford it. Come on, what are you doing?
able to afford a $350,000 house on a $70,000
Holy
a year
shit! I'd want to know what kind of interest rates they had back then, huh?
salary with a son. And that is just, that's not even the American dream anymore. That's not even possible.
No, it's dead.
My aunt, who
Absolutely.
I fight with all the time, is always saying how you have to give somewhere, right? And my cousin said something to her the other day and said, we're giving everywhere. We don't get property. We don't get good school systems. Whatever we're trading off is too much to trade off.
Victoria had brought up some comments.
No, because you trade everything, you still get nothing. Of course they're gonna be fucking pissed. God, fucking boomers, man.
Like with her aunt a few times.
Oh, this is my Aunt Judy.
Oh, here she comes.
So
She's gonna
I
yell
asked
at
Aunt
us.
Judy to come on over and talk to us.
I talked about how much we fight about millennials, yes, but millennials
Oh, this is Aunt Judy. This is her mom.
living at home and how you always say, well, you have to sacrifice something, but how much we're sacrificing. Like, we don't get like a big property, or we don't get like a nice house, or it's not in a good school system.
You have to start somewhere. You have to start anywhere. Just start your portfolio.
Bro, a hole in the wall costs like 150,000. Like where I live, 150K is like an unironic hole in the wall fucking ass. It's a piece of shit. Like it's either on the outskirts of town. It's either really old. It looks horrible. It's actual like garbage. Yeah, just start. Yeah.
Is what I told you. I don't care what it is. You don't have to live in Oceanport your first time.
No, but you were
No
able to
shit.
live in Oceanport the first time.
Okay, I guess it was different times.
Gen
I love that. Well, it was different back then, okay?
X and baby boomers may have a tougher time understanding what young adults are going through today
absolutely.
because they enjoyed, until the pandemic recession hit, a solid almost 15 years of uninterrupted economic experience.
Well, 2008 happened. Who here remembers their parents like sitting down with them even when they were a little kid and being like, yeah, this here, little Timmy, this year we're not going to be able to afford like really extravagant Christmas gifts. You're going to get a sock this year. I remember that. I remember my parents sat me down like in a very nice way, but they were like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to afford like really nice Christmas presents. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, shit.
Expansion. Baby boomers, Gen X, they weathered many economic downturns, including major recessions. But I think the big difference is that when they were starting to form their own households and starting to accumulate wealth, housing and higher ed were both more affordable relative to their incomes than they are now.
When I started out, I was making $35,000 a year. That was nothing.
And now you have a house in New Jersey in Oceanport. Yeah.
He was making $35,000 a year. You guys are making six figures together.
And six figures isn't enough. Oh my god, I would lose my fucking mind. This is why I don't ever talk to my parents. Or at least, like, when my parents used to not understand what my brother and I went through. With, like, because my brother's older than me, he went through it first. But then when I started talking about it, my parents got annoyed with it. They were like, oh, it's, like, different, right? And I'm like, no, it's not. We're gonna go through the same mountain that you and my brother went through. Like, you're gonna experience what it's like for someone like us to get a house or even think about it. Just inherit your parents' house? Yeah, in like 25 years. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for 20 years for my parents to pass away.
You can't tell me you can't afford a house.
She's like that girl that's like 100K per capita. Oh, that's like the same. The populations are the same, right? Like, she's like that Twitter post, man. Per capita, bro. Like, she just doesn't understand it.
I want to spend their money.
Told ya.
Told you.
No, I don't know.
You want it? What was my first house? 250 maybe? 270?
Holy shit, she's fucking rich. What? Her first house was $200K in 1995? Are you shitting me? No, you're loaded. What the hell? I think my parents bought a house in 1999. Their first house. I think they bought it probably for like 100? Maybe like 80K? I can't remember. I remember they maybe talked about it like once or twice, but that's insane. And this is in New Jersey too.
That doesn't exist anymore. Where am I finding a $270,000
I'm
house?
not making $35,000 a year. Combined, we made 70.
In 1995, $70,000 was the equivalent of $145,000.
Are you fucking kidding me? 144 grand? Dude, anyway, that just makes me upset. I'm sorry.
Today.
What?
Yeah, look
She
at
feels so validated too.
that.
Ooh, damn, really?
We do also have a situation that what is really good for an individual person or an individual family is not necessarily good for the entire macroeconomy.
The Federal Reserve estimates in a 2019 paper that young adults who move out of their parents' house would spend around $13,000 more per year on things such as housing, food, and transportation.
One of the big boosts to consumer spending is when people form households. Whether you're a renter or a buyer, you need to furnish that house. You need to fix things up in the home to make it livable. You end up spending a lot of money during that time.
Yeah.
So if the pace of household formation slows down, then that's going to slow down the pace of consumer spending, and that will
Yeah, because people don't. So it's people always say that there's more spending on like entertainment and like going out and shit, but when the economy is so bad that you can't even afford to go out, even if you're living with your parents, that says a lot. It's beyond fucked.
produce a drag on the economy.
Another
Yeah.
issue is that there aren't enough affordable properties in popular areas for younger people who are in entry-level jobs and making less money.
Any sort of housing policy needs to be multi-pronged. Are there homes that are at the price point of these prospective home buyers? What can we do to increase the housing supply? What can we do to build? What can we do to help elder Americans, to help them down?
And what's another really good point that they're bringing up is that you're living in the city center, right? Because you have to work and you have to work a minimum wage at McDonald's. You have to live in a city. If you want to live outside of the city, like really far away, you literally can't go work at McDonald's. It's like an entry-level shitty job, but you can't get like a stay-at-home job because you don't have anything to start with. You're not going to get a job like that lets you do that. You can't buy houses or even rent in houses, man. Alana on screen. Yes. I'm doing my taxes.
Size and move into more right-sized homes that will open up larger homes for young families. So I think one alone is not really going to do it. We've got to look both at demand as well as supply.
The other major factor here is how much student loan debt young Americans have. 59% of U.S. adults say they've delayed financial milestones because of their student debt.
I do have a student loan payment. It's about $480 a month. So that's my largest expense.
The liability could
That's your largest? It's kind of impressive.
be worse for Black
480 is the
borrowers, who
largest.
tend to have higher than average student loan debt and less wealth than white counterparts. Black and Hispanic respondents were more likely to say that debt was holding them back from reaching financial milestones. Less than half of white respondents said the same. The amount of debt young adults held also rose substantially between 2005 and 2014, during that period of strongest
Debt holdings at age 22 in the US, 2005. Yes, because college prices have gone up so much, man. I hate this, man. I hate it. Look, $500 average debt holdings at 22 in 2005. Even for accounting for inflation, that's still not a lot.
population in that cohort living with their parents.
Aggregate student loans are such an enormous part of the economy now, and that's not a reflection of younger people making bad choices with their education. It's really a consequence in large part due to the fact that there's less public funding, and going to college just is
It's also cope. A lot of people go into degrees that they don't even want to do because they get spawn camped as soon as they turn 18 to start talking about the idea of going to college, even if it's not necessary for them. Look, I'm gonna say it, unpopular opinion, I don't think college is for everyone. I think that genuinely some people just are not suited for college and you should go do something else. You'll have more life fulfillment, you will feel happier because you're not $80,000 in debt. Even in countries where there's free college, I don't think it's a good idea for every single person to go to college. Go be an electrician. Go fucking be a carpenter or something. There's plenty of jobs that they're just great, much better for you mentally and physically. Or go to the military. I don't give a fuck. Do what you want to do. But like fucking hell, like college can be such a scam. And this is coming from someone who had a lot of debt going to college and then deciding not to do it. Yeah.
Is more expensive, which makes it even harder for even those college grads who are hoping to earning more money as a result of their college degrees.
Student loan debt by itself can't explain the phenomenon, especially considering so many European countries with much less student loan debt have higher rates of young adults living with their parents. 24 out of 29 European countries had more 18 to 34-year-olds living with their parents in 2021 than the US.
Percentage of adults ages 18 to 34 living in their parents' homes. Oh my god. Holy. That's a lot, dude. Poland 64%, Slovenia 60, Ireland 52, Cyprus 54. Damn.
Yes. It was over 70% in Italy, Portugal, Greece, Serbia, and Croatia.
Yeah, what do you say about that now? College is a scam, huh? It's more culturally normalized in the EU though, isn't it? It really depends. I think that whole living with your parents thing forever has been slowly dying out, but there are certain cultures that encourage it. Definitely like Italy, Portugal, Greece, Serbia, and Croatia. I think those are very big culturally to like live with your parents until they pass away.
My boyfriend is Brazilian and multi-generational homes are very common in almost everywhere else in the world, except in the United States. So I'm just taking a page of their playbook.
The Americans are probably the only people that they're not multi-generations in one house. And I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think it's kind of nice. Why do we have...
Can I just say that I think that it really depends on your family. Some families are fucking crazy. I'm sure I could find people in Croatia that hate living with their family. Like living in a multi-generational house. I don't think it's always a benefit. It can be beneficial financially. And if you have an amazing family, good for you, man. I'm so happy. But some families are fucking crazy. I couldn't stand living with my parents. I left at 18. I can't do it now. Yeah, and you're from Greece, aren't you? As a crowd, as we have US prices, but Bulgaria wages. Whoa! Oh my god. Yeah, sometimes you gotta stick it out, but I don't know. It really depends. I think, again, it's situational. Honestly, the only reason I want to go back to school is because my boss said that he would subsidize it, and when I completed my degree, he guaranteed a big pay raise. They used to do that a long time ago. In the 70s and 80s, if you went to school, they would increase your pay a lot, and that would be like a good incentive for you to stay in the same company. But now Corpa Borpas don't really want to do that, so that's like an exception. Yeah, it used to be a lot, very, 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 very common. Same with my parents as well, actually. I'm pretty sure my dad got extra education because his company said, we'll increase your salary by like X amount. And it wasn't even like, you know, going back to college. It was like, you know, go get this like certificate or some shit. They don't really do that anymore. It's quite rare.
to be so cold to push everybody out?
You know, there are a lot of cultures out there in which it is normal to live with your parents until you get married. And I don't think there's necessarily an economic explanation for that.
The Franklins would say
no, it's a cultural thing. It really depends.
In the US, it is the economy. But Victoria's mom is kind of okay with it.
Unfortunately, it is the economy and the world that we live in that just doesn't allow them to go live a comfortable life. So with them living...
What a nice mom as opposed to the auntie. The auntie was kind of a bitch. At least the mom's understanding.
here was no big deal. It's not really a problem. They're saving their money. Eventually they'll buy a house, and that works.
Surely. Ah, damn it, dude. Yeah, I don't know. My parents could afford to, like, keep me and my brother, like, home, but I don't know. This is a BS video, complete propaganda. Okay, how is it propaganda? I agree that it's a corporate outlet, but, like, you gotta elaborate before you say it's all bullshit. Not all of it's bullshit. The statistics don't lie. Yeah. Is it CNBC or MSNBC? This is the Fox News of the left. Why do we give a fuck? We're literally looking at the stats. I'm just reading the stats and yapping.